Hello everyone and welcome back to week 4 of our Zero to YouTube Hero pistol series. So this week we're going to be focusing on doing reloads. So there's 3 different types of reloads I kind of want to focus on. There's the speed reload or slide lock reload as some people like to call it. There's also the tactical reload, and then there's also a malfunction reload. So we're actually not going to be covering the malfunction reload, even though that's probably the most important one, simply because there's a video I want to do on actually clearing malfunctions and some training I want to do on malfunction clearing that I want to do with live ammo and snap caps. So we're just going to delay that level of reload. So for our videos this week, we're going to be doing a video from Ronin Tactics that goes over how to do the slide lock reload, and then we're going to be watching a video from Tactical Rifleman that goes over the tactical reload. So let's get into those videos now. The first one we're going to review is the Ronin Tactics video, and we're going to use this for training for our slide lock reload, and then we'll get into the Tactical Rifleman and we'll use that for our tactical reload. Now I'll be completely honest, I think the bloopers reel for this week is going to be pretty good because unlike presentation and drawing from a holster, I actually had a little bit of skill with that, at least a marginal amount where you didn't get to catch me learning from nothing. From this period on, I'm pretty much learning from absolutely zero, so I don't really have any sort of inherent skill to start with, so it's going to be entertaining, I'm sure. So this week we're going to be doing our training with airsoft and with our P320 pistol. We're going to be doing about 1,000 to 2,000 iterations. I think I'm going to mix in the two between the tactical and the slide lock reloads. So we're going to get into those videos and then let's get into the training. So now that I've had a chance to watch the videos, I kind of want to go over and do a quick synopsis of what I've learned. I've also put a link down below in case any of you want to follow along. So the first one I want to talk about is the Ronin Tactics video with the slide lock reload. Now I set up my training also the same way, where I have one of the airsoft magazines to be completely empty and the other one full of bullets. So basically we can load one and then it'll induce a slide lock reload. So as we go into that, what I want to do is kind of go over what he's talking about. So we're going to come up and we'll have our slide lock, and when we're out in that position, what we want to do is come back to our workspace. Now I know this is going to change depending on your training. Now if you're a competition shooter, the last thing you want to do is waste that precious time. But I'm not trying to learn this for competition. In reality, if I'm doing a reload, I'm likely behind cover or concealment. I'm going to be moving to some other position where if I train to keep my hands out here, I'm likely just going to slam into something else. So for the sake of my training, that wouldn't be applicable. But that may be for you. So, like I said before, know what you're training for and train what you're training for. So, we come back into our workspace. We're going to index the magazine by putting that index finger over the magazine, sliding up and in, releasing our slide. This is going to be good entertainment for you guys. Once we learn where the slide lock is, and then we can re-engage our target. So, let's do it. Also, real quick, just as we get started, shout out to my cousin. I got about 2 seconds into this and busted both base plates. So he had to send me some new ones. He 3D printed me some different base plates that actually work. So big thanks. Continue on. Ooh, okay, let's try not to look dumb today. Okay, so what I'm already seeing is I can probably move, 2 things are happening at 2 different speeds. So I can move faster to my magazine and slower with my hand rotation. So 2 different speeds of 2 different things happening at once, I think. Or you just lose base plate. Probably have to glue these on. If any of you work for CZ or ASG, make this CZ pistol, and you make these magazines, punch yourself. Maybe if I jam the magazine, base plates with dirt, they won't come apart. So that's another thing from some other videos I saw, was doing like a weird trick where you hold the gun and then eject the magazine so you make sure it gets ejected. If it doesn't go, like let's say I eject it part way and it doesn't go and it's just still stuck in there, I mean, it probably the easiest thing ever to get that out of there. I don't know why you'd waste the extra time even in a technical scenario, so we're not doing that. Okay, so we got to solve this base plate problem before we get anywhere else. So today we're definitely having some issues. So I have applied Loctite to some things that probably shouldn't have Loctite applied to them. And while that was drying, I figured I'd go ahead and just practice the tactical reload step. When I did that, I went ahead and got the red dot out. I got the regular pistol out. Now, if you noticed, I don't have the red dot installed on the gun right now. So the reason for that is I was actually experiencing some issues. Whenever I was doing some dry firing over the past couple days, the actual red dot would just die. I would pull the trigger and the whole red dot would just flicker out. I was actually having this issue right before I did the previous week 3 video, and I just figured the battery had died, so it was a little bit weird. So I called Holosun and was talking to them about it, and I was thinking like, hey, I got something weird with my battery contact, or do I have a bad battery? How can I check it? How should I do X, Y, and Z? And they were like, you know what? Send that to us. Let us figure out what's going on, and we'll get it fixed for you. So they were really awesome. They've been amazing so far. They sent me a RMA slip, a little return slip, within about an hour after talking to them over the phone. Amazing service. So they're getting that checked out. So this week, unfortunately, we're gonna be doing our training without the red dot. So there we go. So let's get into the tactical reload then. So for the tactical reload, it's gonna be similar to the other one, but what we're gonna do is when we actually index the spine, we're gonna come here and we're gonna slip that finger over from the tactical rifleman video to make this pocket in our hand, where we can then drop this magazine into the pocket, load this one, making sure to push up on the butt plate as we insert the magazine. Now, you're already gonna have one in the chamber, so you ain't gotta worry about the slide lock on this one, because if your slide was locked back, you wouldn't be doing the tactical reload, right? You should already have one in the chamber. Oof, I don't like reinserting into these kiwis. Now, one thing I'm actually going to highly recommend also is snap caps. If you're not already using these, they're super useful. Obviously, they're good for malfunction drills when you're actually firing, but they're also really good for when you're actually doing reload drills, as I'm kind of learning here, because the sensation when the slide lock back when the magazine's empty, it'll actually fight you a little bit. So you need to learn kind of the difference in that feeling of, hey, I'm reloading. That feels like I'm reloading an empty magazine. They are very different feelings. Then if you have the snap caps, it's different. You can feel that sensation when you actually have a round on the top of the magazine, because the slide will go forward a lot easier. So get the snap caps, get used to that feeling. Learning all sorts of stuff just today. We're gonna practice slowing down here. Coming up, indexing that magazine, wrapping that finger around, coming up and over, re-indexing and coming forward. We're gonna work on going slow to go fast. Down, finger. There we go. So you get the idea. Pretty ugly at this point. I'll do a crap ton more of this, and hopefully we improve. Here we have go and induce the slide lock. We have our magazine with our snap caps. So let's just kind of go through the whole thing. One effort. Pow, no bang, slide lock, come down, drop, magazine, fire. That's not so bad. Come up, bang, slide lock, drop, insert, bang. Bang, 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 slide lock, bang, slide lock. Like I said, the two hands need to move at 2 different speeds. That's the biggest thing I'm learning. This hand is can go very fast for the magazines, where this hand can just kind of meander. They can't. I guess they could both move quickly, but you don't want to move them both slowly. Here are, bang, slide lock. So this is what I'm talking about. I knew I had inserted an empty magazine because of how difficult it was for me to release the slide. So, like I said, practice that. The biggest thing I'm learning going into day 2 is placement of the actual magazine. So when you're actually reloading, what I was doing is I was kind of coming from different angles every time when I was kind of grabbing the magazine, which causes reinsertion to be different every time. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So if I can come behind every time, so I can basically come in line with the magazine as it sits, so if I can come in line with it, catch here, and then just reinsert, that's really all I have to do. So instead of coming at an odd angle, You're just gonna put the magazine directly behind the gun, kind of where the magazine would sit if it would normally, you would be normally be inserting it. So coming just behind, catching it, just reinserting. It just makes it significantly easier and much more consistent to do every single time. So I've also been doing some practicing with actual, the actual slide lock reloads. Interestingly, they're not so precise, so it's actually a lot easier to practice. I'm actually getting a lot more headway each and every day. I'm also starting from a baseline of 0, which every improvement is measurable at that point. So as we've been starting, just going from the slide lock position, then having a magazine ready with our snap caps ready. Coming in, bang, bang, bang. A fun little game I'm playing is trying to reload the gun before the other magazine hits the ground. I have not been successful, but it's good to push yourself. Bet by the end I'll be able to do it. I'm getting a little overconfident. No. Once again, slide doesn't go forward because it's an empty magazine. So here we are at week 6, just continuing our tactical reloads. So good news is these are basically coming at second nature. It's just easier and easier. The interesting thing about a tactical reload is you usually have the time that you would need in order to do a tactical reload, because otherwise it wouldn't really be a tactical reload, right? So it's really not that important that you can do this maybe in a high stress environment, but it shouldn't be time sensitive in the first place. Also, we did get an update from Holosun. They let me know that they took a look at the optic and they did find that something was wrong with it. Something was going on weird, so they want to make sure to send me a replacement. So I'll be working with you to do that review when they send me that new one. It'll probably be in a couple days after this video actually comes out. So I'll do an update. They are going to be sending me the Holosun 507C version 2. So I originally had the version 1. So I'll include in that update whatever those changes are, whatever they changed from version 1 to version 2. I'm not really knowledgeable on what the differences are, but we'll go through it together. Other than that, let's go through the rest of our training for today. So working our slide lock reloads, I would say I really have liked this week. It seems like this is just a gross motor skill test, and it's a lot easier than all the fine motor skills and exact motor skills you have to have for the presentation and for the draw. I'm really enjoying this week. So if you haven't noticed, my furry friend who's usually out here in my videos is no longer with me. I do the dogs on deployment, so I watch dogs for military members. So we had that little dog with us for about 4 months. So it's weird to kind of go from having a little dude that's with you all the time to having nothing, but it's awesome that he's back home with his dad and that they're reunited. So he came home safe and everything's good. So happy to see, but sad to see at the same time. The biggest trick I'm finding for consistency when I'm doing this is making sure I grab low on the magazine, like kind of grabbing it in that palm of my hand. If I don't really get that, if I get too high, like I said before, weird things happen and usually I just end up throwing a magazine on the floor. Yeah, I really don't mind doing reloads. So as we move forward with the airsoft training portion, I want to continue to add to my disdain for airsoft. Now, I didn't have a disdain before I started this. I thought to myself, you know what? Airsoft is going to be a great way to actually practice and learn real firearm skill because they're similar, right? So you're going to learn some of the same gun handling, you're going to learn some of the same stuff. I tell you what, every time I use this thing, something breaks. Every time I use one of these magazines, something breaks. If you think you're gonna save money by getting one of these and training with it, you're crazy. Like, I think I've dropped my regular P320 magazines, well, it has to be at least a couple hundred times during the course of this week. If I drop one of these 2 times, I have to go and reglue the base plate. It's continually a problem. It's very frustrating. It's very annoying. Don't train with airsoft. Train with a real firearm. You're gonna save yourself a lot of frustration. If you can't get a real firearm, yeah, it'll work. Oh, it's very frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, let's go into our airsoft training and break some base plates. That's not how you grab the magazine. Ah, super weird. The base plate broke after falling on the ground one time. So here we are on day 7, so let's see if we've actually met our goal of being able to reload the gun before the magazine hits the ground. I don't think we have, but maybe we got close. So for the last bit we're going to do with airsoft, I've randomly loaded the magazine, and the idea is to fire this magazine as quick as I can, and then once it's empty, reload as quick as I can, recognizing that the gun has run dry. So this is to simulate a realistic scenario where maybe I'm firing and then the gun has run empty and I need to reload. But I don't know how many bullets I have, nor was I keeping track of it. So let's see how it goes. So let's go over what we learned this week. I was really impressed that you could go from having very little reload skills. I started from almost zero to being extremely quickly in 7 days. I really thought reloading was something that would require a much longer period of time to learn, but I really was moving very quickly with it and gaining a lot of skill even within the first few days. So if you have a pistol and a magazine, hopefully, train at home. I think you'd be surprised as to how fast you can get on your reloads just by training with dry fire. I've kind of proven here that you don't need any sort of live ammo. You can train at home and be very, very proficient. So thanks for tuning in this week. Next week we're going to do a culmination where we're actually going to be doing some dynamic movements. We're going to be doing tactical reloads on the move, firing on the move, multiple targets on the move. So that's going to be kind of our final video of the training phase of this, and then we're going to hopefully, if the COVID stuff finally dies down, we're going to try to hit the range and see how that all actually translates. So thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope you're here for next week when we kind of do that culmination piece.